Good morning, fellow Malaysians. This is Matthias Chang once again from Future Fast Forward. I would like to seek indulgence for my voice as I just had a throat infection. That said, I would like to address 3 issues in this video address because I feel very strongly that our people have been misled deliberately by a very systematic campaign to convey to all of you the lie that our economy is thriving, will continue to thrive in the near future. I don't wish to actually give you this address this morning. As I said, I had a throat infection. And I was hoping, given all the propaganda, the lies by the Najib regime, leaders of the opposition, civil society, NGOs will come forward to rebut and to expose the lies of the regime. But sad enough, they have not come forward. And I'm not saying in this, my address, I have all the answers or that I'm the only one exposing these lies by the Najib regime. But I have searched and I've surfed the internet and social media and have yet come across a systematic rebuttal of this hideous lie. Alright? One of which was that Malaysian economy is thriving because some foreign experts had given the view and endorsed the economy. Therefore, it must be thriving. Alright? Now, it's very easy to rebut this nonsense. But because of time factor, I will just focus on one person and one news item that was broadcast widely, first by Bernama and then other mouthpieces of the regime. This is the caption of Bernama, which says this: 2018 to be pretty good year for Malaysia's economy, Deutsche Bank. Alright? So, this so-called asshole expert gave his 2 bits worth as to the economy of Malaysia. Okay? Let me expose this bank and this idiot, because you will recall just last week and last few days there was a market crash. The Dow collapsed worse than the one in 1987, and yet this asshole bank and all the other financial institutions, the Security Commission, Bank Negara, Treasury, have they warned the people, especially the Bumiputeras, entrepreneurs and capitalists who have placed so much money in the stock exchange casino, that there would be a collapse? No, not one. And Asia was devastated across the board. Okay. But before that, the government says our ringgit has strengthened, therefore we are okay. Not knowing that the ringgit did not strengthen. It was a deliberate devaluation of the dollar that gave rise to the strengthening of the ringgit. There was no fundamentals to support the strengthening, but for the devaluation, deliberate devaluation of the US dollar. I'll come back to that later. So let me see what this German expert from Deutsche Bank said. He says this, right? It was reported. Deutsche Bank Asia Pacific chief economist Michael Spencer said Malaysian growth will hold up reasonably well in the first half of the year and slow down at the end of this year. Now these are his keywords in quotes. I think it will be well in 2019, I think it will be well in 2019 as the growth will remain probably above 5%. He told reporters at the World Capital Market Symposium. I would prefer the central bank to be more forward-looking, and I think the interest rate announcement was with a view that inflation will fall soon, and I think it will. I think it will. Okay? So, his expert opinion on our economy is confined to 2 words. I think. It's not based on any strong foundation or analysis and data. I think. And then the growth would be probably 5%. And yet, the government latched on to this so-called analysis and thereby propagating the lie, everything is rosy. But you and I know, people are suffering. And of course, when you go to the rural areas, this lie will be perpetrated. I wonder how many in the opposition is armed and well trained to rebut such lies. But sad to say, in my view, they've been quite lackadaisical in addressing the overall economy of Malaysia. What are the key problems facing the right of Malaysia? And what we have to do to save Malaysia. And before I go on, may I just say that if we do not know the global economy and its impact on Malaysia, we are barking up the wrong tree. Because recently, when Dow collapsed, we collapsed. When Dow has a flu, Asia was infected with that flu. So we cannot talk about the economy without knowing the latest trends, the policies of the Federal Reserve Bank, ECB, Bank of England, and the Bank of Japan. And more importantly, China. And the ongoing currency war. But sadly sad to say, alright, no one bother. No one bother. Well, that's not my problem. Alright? Because in due course, I will show to you the devastation. Now, coming back to this asshole, Michael Spencer, chief economist of Deutsche Bank. As if Deutsche Bank, as a bank, has integrity and credibility. If I were the Prime Minister of Malaysia, come Finance Minister, and the chief propaganda activist or mouthpiece of Malaysia for this nincompoop, I will not use Deutsche Bank as a reference. You know why? Because Deutsche Bank has been prosecuted, sued by a class action by many people across the world for their cheating, insidious cheating, manipulation of markets. On 12 March 2016, after prolonged litigation and negotiation, Deutsche Bank settled with the US authorities, okay, as well as the class action against them for their blatant, insidious manipulation. If I may quote from Zero Hedge, it says here, when we first reported the Deutsche Bank had agreed to settle the class action lawsuit filed in July 2014, accusing a consortium of banks of plotting to manipulate gold and silver. Deutsche Bank was one of them. And among the charges that Deutsche Bank effectively refused to contest were the following. When you refuse to contest allegations and accusations, that means you admit, you agree, understand? This is the bank. Effectively refused to contest with the following issues. Employment of a manipulative device claims, bid rigging and unjust enrichment, price fixing and unlawful restraint, price manipulation claims, aiding and abetting principal and agent claims. And then, way back on January 30th, 2018, there's headlines. As reported, right, by Bloomberg and Japan Times. US fines Deutsche Bank, UBS and HSBC for manipulating metal markets via spoofing. Metal markets means gold, silver, etc. I want to explain to you what's spoofing. But here is the latest expose that Deutsche Bank, UBS, okay, and Hong Kong Shire Bank, okay, were prosecuted, and they had to settle for manipulating the market. Deutsche Bank, UBS, and Hong Kong Bank will together pay a total of 46.6 million to settle allegations that traders at the banks worked to manipulate future markets in precious metals through a process known as spoofing. The Justice Department and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission said. So, this bank is a crook. You understand? Malaysians. So was UBS, Hong Kong Shire Bank. They manipulated the market. And this man is from that bank. A bit the title Chief Economist. Now, if you and I belong to a company indicted, right, for cheating, manipulation, and fined, do you think you will give any credence to me, who represent an organization accused of cheating, manipulation, exploitation? No, isn't it? So don't listen anymore. Each time they bring someone to say Malaysia is good, fairyland tales, research and whack them. Because most of the global banks, I'm telling you, are crooks, manipulators, money launderers. What I quoted you is from DOJ, okay, and the Security Commission of America, indicting them for their wickedness, crookedness. And yet, Najib regime and our own Security Commission invite them to talk about the future outlook of our economy. How freaking idiotic and stupid. Because unless you agree with them, then you are equally stupid. Hopefully not. But this is what's happening now, right? And the silence thus far from the opposition ranks is deafening. How sad. How very sad. And I hope and I urge them, please pay more attention to the real world and stop the infighting for seats in whichever state you are competing in. Focus on reality and serve the people. And now come the stupidity of our Prime Minister, which I had already spoken of in my previous address. But I thought maybe I'll give him a pass. What he said on 21st of January 2018, you know. But since the issue was played up again, using an arsehole, a German arsehole, well, I thought maybe to round up the discussion, I might as well whack this nincompoop beyond what I've done in my previous address. So this is the headlines, okay? So-called article in a Sun newspaper. You got it? All right. Take your handphone and photograph it, please. You got it? Okay. It says here, Malaysia will never repay ringgit, says Najib, Finance Minister. Last currency peg caused global markets to lose confidence in the country. Blah, blah, blah. Then he says, no. And he was a member of the cabinet, this asshole. The reality is that this currency repeg would be a mitigated disaster for our economy and therefore the prosperity of our people. Meaning he says that, right, he condemns that Malaysia was wrong in pegging during the 1997 crisis to the US dollar, and that he will never, ever allow Malaysia to be pegged to the dollar, the ringgit. Never say never. But let's see how clever is this asshole economist come finance minister. Okay? Now, for many people of you who have not studied economics, even bankers who are trained in LSE, Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, post, okay, 1976 onwards, if you go to annual economic faculty, they will condemn pegging of currency and encourage everyone that floating rates is a nirvana, the solution for volatility in currencies. Nah. Okay? At one time, it's a heresy for anyone to even whisper the word floating rates in currency exchange. Why? Because all these numbskulls who are going to economic schools of all the top universities, right, were not told or were told to ignore the fact that prior, okay, to the Second World War, most currencies were pegged, more so after the Second World War, when all currencies throughout the world except communist countries were pegged to the US dollar, and the US dollar was in turn pegged to gold, understand? To ensure stability of the global economy and the individual countries, okay? For manipulation and speculation. And then Uncle Sam, Big Brother, overspent in all the wars, especially in Vietnam War, as a result of which US almost became a bankrupt. And when countries were demanding gold for their dollar, which they kept in reserve, gold went out of America to the extent that there was not enough gold, okay, to exchange for the dollar notes held by all countries. The stampede was done by France. And in 1971, President Nixon closed the exchange door, dollar for gold, and then declared to the whole world, from that day onwards, all currencies, repeat, will be fiat currency, not backed by anything. And US dollar will be backed only by the nuclear weapons and guns, understand? And when that proved not sufficient to maintain credibility, Kissinger and the Arabs, OPEC, had a deal to create demand for a dollar, which is a toilet paper then. All oil must be sold in US dollars. So therefore, US dollar was pegged to oil to show its integrity and credibility as a fiat currency. Alright? That's how, indirectly, all currencies became pegged to dollar. Because if you don't have dollars, you can't buy crude oil. Stupid Najib, you know history? Okay. Now let's go on a bit by saying that Malaysia will never repeg ringgit. That means as if, right, to do so is stupid, will destroy the economy. But let me tell you very quickly, right, these are the countries which he kowtowed to, okay, who are still pegging their currency to the US dollar. An expert says this, fixing to the US dollar stabilizes the economies and makes it less volatile. Alright? In the Middle East, many countries, including Jordan, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, which you kowtow and lick their ass, and other Arab Emirates, pegged to the US dollar for stability. The oil-rich nations need the United States as a major trading partner for oil. In Asia, Macau and Hong Kong fixed to the US dollar. China, on the other hand, has been embroiled in a controversy about its currency. While it does not officially peg its currency, the Chinese yuan to the US dollar, it does manage it. Some say manipulate to benefit its manufacturing and export-driven economy. In the first 30 years of Deng Xiaoping's reform of the economy, yuan was pegged to the US dollar, dumbass Najib. And now, unofficially, it's pegged to US dollar, unofficially. And by manipulation, it lowers and raises yuan to suit its exports, okay? Now, is Najib saying Saudi Arabia is an idiot, numbskull? Hong Kong, the financial center of Asia, is stupid to peg the Hong Kong dollar to US dollar? No, is it? So it depends on the circumstances, each case, right? When to peg and when not to repeg, okay? So to say, in one brush, right, thereby trying to destroy Tun Mahathir's policy and legacy, all right, in 1998, he's trying to show himself, right? He's the mastermind of economics. He's the mastermind of currency. He knows nothing, all right? During the crisis, right, he was a dumb ass. And now he's trying to show himself to be a fantastic economist. He doesn't know what he's talking about, okay? And he says, you know, this one expert has made this view, says, going through history of China. China's growth rates could not be established without a fixed or pegged US dollar exchange rate. And China is not the only one that has used this strategy. Economies, big and small, favor this type of exchange rate for several reasons. Okay? And I will not go into those reasons, because this is not a lecture or thesis. But I raise up this issue to show to you that other countries peg their currency to the US dollar. It's not something as if it's a disease, a leprosy, a heresy. So this idiot, when he opens his mouth, right, he talk cock and boom. Alright? So it's a camouflage to hide, as if the strengthening of the ringgit is because of the floating rate exchange rate. Nah. Okay? Rubbish, utter rubbish. Okay? Now, why do you think he gets away so often? Because, I'm telling you, my fellow Rakyat, economics professors and lecturers in our universities are talking cock and bull. Think tanks are also talking cock and bull. Because if you're not talking cock and bull, how come they did not issue a warning 2 weeks before the largest one-day crash recently, last week, following on to yesterday? Because their head is buried in the sand, Malaysian quicksand, with their ass in the air, and know freaking all about global economics and how you impact on Malaysia. If truth be told, I'm not boasting, I forecasted the recent crash to the day, and I have witnesses to support me. And I challenge anybody, $1 million US take me on. Whether I did forecast or not. I even say the correction of the Dow market, Dow Jones, will be approximately 5% drop. And sure enough, it dropped around to that range. And I give my reasons why. And this, I think, I said that there will be a correction, a major correction. Because for 2 years, the casino went wow. And as a matter of policy, those in charge of the money market realized if they want to seduce more people to come to the market, they have to have a correction. Alright? Destroy the market and then pick up cheap stocks and enter the new trade. And the musical chairs start again. Okay? That's the difference between me and this numbskull. Okay? And he's the finance minister, and he's the finance minister. Alright. So, let me remind all of you, I have no intention to lecture you or to advise you. All I can ask all of you is, please, in these dark times, please wake up to reality. We have the internet, we have Google search, Yahoo search. To save your family, yourself, your jobs, your career, I ask you first to study the global trends and economics of the major countries, Japan, Europe, UK, America, and China. If they have a flu, we will start sneezing. If they ship bricks, we will ship bricks. So we can't look at Malaysia in isolation. You don't have to be an economist, a PhD, or MBA to know everything about global economy or regional economy. I'm very fortunate to have very good friends, very knowledgeable friends, well qualified, in the very center of the storm, among the elites, who consider me as a friend and thereby giving me critical information so that I may in turn share this with you. So I hope, having shared my information with you, you will do your own research, failing which you deserve to be whacked left, right, and center and suffer the same way as you have suffered in 1997 during the ASEAN crisis and 87 crisis. They also not warn all of you of 28 crisis. And I said in my, I think, second last address, the final phase of the global tsunami is already arriving. And they are not saying there will be a competition between gold-backed currencies, the SDRs on one hand, and digital currencies. It's coming. This is merely appetizer for the full act to unfold, the full drama to unfold. So having demolished a German crooked bank and a German false economist, as well as Najib, the numbskull, let me tell all of you, without exception, although this address, this last part of my address is aimed at my Malay brothers and sisters, let me say, if the Malay community collapse and get devastated, the Malay, Indians, Dayaks, Sabahans, we will all go into a shithole. Believe you me, I'm not here to alarm you. But if you ignore my alarm, my warnings, which I've been ringing for almost 2 years, then like I said before, let the burning fire, let the cleansing fire cleanse this country of its evil, stupidity, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. More than any time in the history of our country, there is a betrayal, a very insidious betrayal. And I'm sad to say, and it may not go down well with a lot of people in this, what I'm going to say in the next few minutes, it may not go down well, I don't care. If you disagree with me, debate with me, okay? Don't try to unleash violence on me. Brains for brains, analysis for analysis, okay? And prove me wrong. So, this is what I have to say to all of you now. The Malay elites have betrayed the Bumiputeras. No more bogeyman anymore. This is the truth, and I'll show you why. By far, the Bumiputeras will be the most disadvantaged community in their own country. Unemployment and underemployment in both public and private sectors will happen. is the most heinous scourge that can befall a community. This financial and economic calamity will implode within 5 years. All right? Second issue, which I want to address to you, which will also apply to all communities without exception, huh? All, is this, that we have been practicing an insidious way of life and distort and blaspheme the teachings of God Almighty. Religious apartheid is now entrenched and practiced by one and all, by all faiths. Everyone proclaim a false keturunan or false superiority. Understand? Everybody claim they're superior. They're the best. They're the only one. There is only one way, our way. There's only one God, my typing error, our God. There's only one culture that matters, our culture. The mantra chanted by one and all. Okay? Sorry, I apologize for the typing, especially. There's only one way, our way. There's only one God, our God. There's only one culture that matters, our culture. Like our chorus. Every day we hear this across the entire nation by all communities. In the result, we're going to go into chaos. Why? Why do you think, despite our successes, we have not reached the peak, or will not reach the peak to a developed nation? It's because of this simple observation. Wealth cannot multiply by dividing. It grows and multiplies by unifying all the productive forces. So, if this is a truth, which I believe you all agree, then this destroys that truth. Religious apartheid divides, creates animosity, misunderstanding, and mistrust. With this, you can't have this. Without this, you can have this. Alright? Now, some of you say, Matthias, you're very harsh. Why do you focus on the Malay? I'm saying the same problem exists in other communities, but because you're the majority, you hold political power in your hands. You collapse, we all collapse. And how did your collapse come about? The betrayal of your own elites. Okay? The betrayal of your own elites. Personified by the organizational culture and the political culture within UMNO now. Can you see what's happening now? I've done a very detailed analysis, but I don't have time to go through each and every factor. How this once successful community, which has scaled so many heights of excellence in the last 30 years, has been brought down to its knees in the last 15 years, starting with the Patla administration regime. You recall, within a year of his coming to power, a financial rapist, instead of focusing on the development of the country, focus on developing investment banks, for the DNA of Goldman Sachs. They amass monies for themselves, and to hell with everyone else. Then what happened? Just before the 2002 election, there were devastations in America. Goldman Sachs collapsed. And thank God Goldman Sachs collapsed. Otherwise, we would have been infected with that disease. And we have suffered much more, between 2008 and 2009, 2010. And now, with this regime having prostituted our country to China and kowtow to America, we have lost all our integrity, our credibility as a nation, our sovereignty and our independence. So, bear that in mind. How can any country be successful? How can the economy be really thriving if it's the largest and worst kleptocracy? I'll give you an example, okay? It doesn't mean if a country is under dictatorship, like Pinochet of Chile, okay? Those juntas in South America, oh, they make money, a lot of money. But we use per capita income as a measurement, like Saudi Arabia, and the monarch. Filthy rich, but small population. So you divide filthy rich amount of money, divide by a small population, per capita is very high, isn't it? But there's a worse benchmark to determine the success or failure of a country. We have a lot of money, but this money has been stolen, siphoned off, laundered by the elites. Connived with the China Kwai Jolo, Comprado. Get that in the head. Get that in the head. The issue is no longer Malay against Chinese or Indians against Chinese, whatever. Days are gone. The divide is no longer between one race and another. Okay? Even then, historically, the reasons for that division is not as simple as you think. But today, let me warn all of you, the divide is between the oligarchs. Google the definition. Oligarchs means a handful of filthy rich that controls the economy, and the kleptocrats on one hand, and all the underclass, Bumiputeras, Chinese, Indian, Sabahan, Sarawaks. And now, increasingly, the middle class, especially among the Bumiputeras. This will be the divide. And if you think that the elites, the kleptocrats, having filled their pockets with such amount of money and extravagance, they will let go of their power, you're dreaming. The only way we can restore our country to past glories and scale new heights of excellence in economics, politics, social equality, it means massive, sweeping change. But I have a caveat. Change, and what they call reformasi, is meaningless if you talk about changing an institution or that institution without changing the fundamental economics. Understand? They talk about changing the judiciary, the police, and what have you. Nah. It doesn't work that way, okay? The judiciary we have today is no different from the time when Mother England was a colonial power. ISA, the Supreme enactments were given by the British. OSA by the Brits. We didn't invent OSA. Or the security laws by the Brits. So it's not a system. We invented the system. What is important is the person who leads and administers the system. Okay? Good judge, good system. Bad judge, bad system. Good leader, good country. Kleptocrat leader, bastardly country. Okay? This is what he means. And let me put another caveat. When people are deprived of what they deem to be the entitlement, their monies, and they will deprive the key to the vault of the country. Be very careful. Once they have their hands on the key, they go gila, amok, and plunder the country. So let's be honest. when you talk about, right? When we throw out this regime, it's like, be careful, don't throw the bathwater, baby with the bathwater. There's us other people. What are we going to replace this Najib kleptocracy? Don't give me generalizations. Our economy, right? The uplifting of poverty in Malaysia, the structural changes can only be implemented in tandem to know with what is going on out there in the world, okay? If today, if he says there's no need to peg the ringgit to US dollar, why are we having such a huge reserve in US dollars? And he lost a lot of money recently. Huh? Why? Because global trade, asshole, at least 80% is still in US dollar, whether we like it or not. So in a way, when we keep the reserves in US dollar, we are pegging indirectly. We are compelled to hold the US dollar. Okay. So let's be very honest. We talk about, right, change. Tell me, how are we going to change to adapt to the real world, the global trends and currents? Why is it not a priority to know the global trends and currents that we impact on our country? We don't, we are talking cock and bull. So, as I said, I'm talking as an individual. I don't belong to any political parties. Because my belief is, ultimately, is whether we have the courage of conviction to uphold fundamental principles and not fight over positions and power. I think what will happen, right, if we continue fighting for positions of power and not sacrificing for the good of the country. Think about it. This numbskull idiot give a speech, Najib, to MCA, belittling me about my proposal to transform the whole of the rural economy. He got his advisors telling him, no, my proposal is outdated. Since when flood control, irrigation is outdated? Since when agriculture is outdated when it's the food source for all of us? Think about it. Every country in Asia and Africa, and even America today, have yet to solve the income inequality disparity between the rural sector and urban sector. The rural-urban drift. And yet this asshole, Prime Minister says, right, oh, my ideas are old-fashioned. Since when has anyone in this country dare say and dare fight for the green industrialization of the rural sector, meaning the transformation of the Malay community in the rural sector, to empower them, to uplift them beyond their rural income? Tell me, where in any paper, in all the 5-year plans, have they mentioned the word, the green industrialization of the rural economy? You know why they do that? Because they want to keep the Malays poor in the rural sector. Safe deposit of votes, give them enough crumbs so that they rely on UMNO for survival. And they launch a sexual warfare to brainwash the Malays in the rural sector at one time. And now, by Najib, more intense. UMNO is a protector. UMNO is a facilitator, and UMNO is the bank of last resort. That's how they suppress you, the Malays in the rural area, by the elites. Alright? Of all the 3 major communities, they're comprados, they're bakat to enrich their pocket. So it's not racial. We now have oligarchs and kleptocrats. to enrich themselves and give you crumbs. If you don't wake up to this simple truth, even China now has a problem, isn't it? Yes, under Deng Xiaoping, they expanded the economy. They developed the coastal areas, the urban areas. But the rural areas is still hungry, poor. That's why Xi Jinping whacked the rich, the corrupt, and now our industrialization, the rural area. Hence, the incredible first time in the world, diverting water from south of China, Yangtze River, to north of China in the arid lands to expand the agricultural land and increase the income of the agricultural farmers, agro-industrialists, to be on par with the urban wage earners. 3 major canals every year bringing billions and billions of water to transform the arid hinterland of China. And this numbskull says to do this is rubbish. But he went to America in White House, to the White House, 12 September, and tell Trump, we, Malaysia, a small cultural country, will invest in your infrastructure. And Trump says, I'm going to transform whole America, the heartland, Arkansas, Ohio, and infrastructures. Everything will be modernized. Why he do that? If the rural America, the Rust Belt America is not important. There will be social revolution. Alright? Social revolution has no modernity or be Jurassic. You can't feed, there will be social revolution. You demean, you disrespect the poor, they will rise up and they will overthrow you. So there must be equality. And yet in Davos, what was the theme in Davos? Najib, numbskull, inequality. Understand? How the British inequality, and today you still maintain a policy that subjugate and deprive the Malay rural community. Your own Bumiputeras. That's why I said, you, the Malay elites in UMNO, have betrayed the Malays with your comprados among the Chinese and Indians. Okay? So, this is a very, very harsh speech. I do not apologize for the blunt language. That is a Malay elite that betrayed the Malays, just as the Chinese elites have betrayed the Chinese, and the Indian elites have betrayed the Indians. So what I'm saying is nothing to do with a race. It's now class warfare. The division is between the 1% and the rest. Okay? I'm telling you, look at the Indonesians, the Filipinos, Nepalese. They are now the immigrants that replaced the immigrants of the past years, understand? I won't say anymore. Do your own research and see whether you have been deprived of these opportunities. And this has been taken by the immigrants. Rightly so, because they work harder, like slave laborers when they come over here, and then slowly they build themselves up. Just as the immigrants of the yesteryears, the coolies, rubber estate workers, the construction sites. Why has this been allowed to go on among the Malays? Because the elites have sold you out. You have a choice now. You vote Najib, his kleptocrats, I can guarantee you, within 5 years, you'll be the most disadvantaged community in your own country. You lose all your heritage, all your heirlooms, all your success for the last 40 years. Alright? You're finished. Is that what you want? Is that what you want, you Chinese and Indians? We have a responsibility and a duty to support our brothers and sisters. Okay? Who like sheep fed by the shepherd and then bring to abattoir for slaughter politically. With that, once again, I implore all of you, please, first of all, surrender to the will of Allah. Have absolute faith that He will protect, defend and guide us under all circumstances. In in the face of all enemies, adversaries, evil. Because you must start with the spiritual strength and faith to drive you to meet the challenges of this material world. Without that compass, that ideal, that GPS, the correct teachings of Allah, you will go up whichever ass you want to go and forsake the one and only true path. With that, I bid you a good day and a good weekend. Thank you.